Hello, beautiful soul. My name is Yulia, and I'm the voice of the podcast Love to Heal. This podcast outlines my journey from atheism to Judaism, exploring spirituality from diverse perspectives. It is my hope that my journey will inspire others to embark on their own adventure of self-discovery and spiritual growth. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Love to Heal. Please remember to comment, share, and rate the show. I'd like to tell you about a tremendous concert that I recently attended. I had heard about this Baroque orchestra called Apollo's Fire, based here in Cleveland, Ohio, but I never attended their concerts because Baroque music never really spoke to me. But this time, I was leafing through a Jewish magazine, and I came upon one of their concerts titled, "O Jerusalem, Crossroads of Three Faiths." And this one really piqued my interest. So I decided to make it into a mommy-daughter date and invited my mom. The concert was to take place at a nearby synagogue, which was perfect. And later I found out that my brother and sister-in-law were going, and many other people I knew too. So first, let me tell you about this international ensemble. It includes many instruments, some of which I'd never heard of, like viola da gamba, traverso and recorder, cornetto, sekbut, timpani, and many more. They also feature numerous singers, sopranos, altos, tenors, a whole choir. And their mission is performing on historical instruments and bringing to life the music of the past for audiences of today. And what especially stood out to me and what I truly appreciated was their goal to break down barriers and help today's audiences tap into our shared history. This concert specifically consisted of 26 artists that represented diverse cultures of the Middle East, raising their voices in a spirit of love and mutual respect, which is something we need so much today. To understand the program better, I would like to just read to you the back side of the printed program, because I think this will really give you a good idea, a good sense of what this ensemble is about. O Jerusalem, how often have I wept for you, laments the psalmist. And we have wept for the city for centuries. Since biblical times, Jerusalem has been the meeting point of religion and culture. The city on a hill, quote unquote, where Western imagination flourished, and inevitably the scene of violence that erupted when different faiths laid exclusive claim to the city. As historian James Carroll writes in his richly layered 2011 book, Jerusalem, How the Ancient City Ignited the Modern World, the idea of the holy city, the city on a hill, has shaped the history of not only the Middle East, but also America and the world. To understand the music and poetry of Jerusalem, we need to understand something of its history and how it has resonated in the world. Ever since the Romans sacked Jerusalem and destroyed the temple in 70 AD, taking the Jews to Rome as slaves and scattering them across Europe, the West has inflicted its violent legacy on this city. During the Crusades of the Middle Ages, the Christian world lost Jerusalem to the Muslims, and the biblical idea of a heavenly Jerusalem began to take hold in Western imagination as fantasy and as a dream. Christopher Columbus was driven by the idea of reclaiming Jerusalem. So were the Puritans who came to England. New England, I should say. As Carroll writes, America understood itself from the start as a new Jerusalem, the city on a hill. That vision influenced everyone from Abraham Lincoln to Ronald Reagan and Sarah Palin. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, the British Empire brought its method of colonial domination to Palestine. intentionally stirring up local tensions and thus planting the seeds of Jewish-Arab conflict. The British decimated Palestinian civic and cultural institutions well before the State of Israel was founded. The legacy still casts a shadow over Jerusalem, much as the legacy of slavery and the destruction of Native American culture still cast their pall over American society. With this legacy as a backdrop, our concert looks not at the politics but at the people themselves. Throughout history, neighborhood residents of Jerusalem have lived to celebrate life, not death. They have shared meals, worked together, sung together, and danced together. This was perhaps especially true during the roughly 450 years from which our music is drawn, 1200 to 1650. The interweaving of the spiritual and the secular in the fabric of daily Jewish and Muslim life makes it impossible to separate secular folk music from the sacred songs of synagogue and mosque. They are simply different expressions of the same spiritual longing and love. And so, as we evoke the sounds of Old Jerusalem, we interweave the rhythms of daily life, including love and betrayal, feasting and celebration, and the sacred hymns of the temple, mosque, and church. Historically, the Old City has 4 quarters: the Jewish quarter, the Arab quarter, the Christian quarter, and the tiny Armenian quarter. Our program is a colorful tour of these neighborhoods, including ancient Hebrew prayers, the mixed meters and shifting accents that the Sephardic Jews encountered in their wandering through Turkey as they sought to return to Jerusalem, a vibrant medieval Spanish cantiga that one might have heard in the Christian quarter of the city, and the flamboyant Italian Baroque music encountered by the Sephardim in Italy. Doesn't this sound wonderful? I absolutely adored everything about this program. So now let me tell you about the concert itself. The program started with part 1, called O Jerusalem, which included Sephardic medieval traditional songs in Ladino. I had heard of Ladino some years ago, thanks to the popular Hanukkah song Ocho Candelicas, which means 8 candles, but that was the extent of it. It wasn't until this concert that I finally understood what the Ladino language really is. So the Ladino is a Spanish-derived language traditionally associated with the Sephardic Jewish community. It is an endangered Romance language developed by Sephardic Jews after their 1492 expulsion from Spain. Very interestingly, it combines 15th century Castilian Spanish with Hebrew, Turkish, Greek, and Arabic, and is primarily spoken today by older generations in Israel, Turkey, Greece, and the Balkans. When I heard the songs, because I speak Spanish, I thought they were being sung in Spanish. That's how similar Ladino is to Spanish. So if you know Spanish, you would understand probably 90% of it. To make it more interesting, the paper program of the concert included the lyrics of the songs and their translations. For instance, the song titled Cuando el Rey Nimrod translated into beautiful poetry and spoke of the story of the birth of Abraham, the father of the Jewish people, and of monotheism. The first section concluded with a moving poem titled Children of Adam by poet Sa'adi from 13th century Persia. This poem calls humans limbs of one body, all created equal. And when one limb is hurt, the whole body shall be in unease. Isn't that beautiful? To call all humans limbs of one body, created equally. I love that because that has been the underlying message of my podcast from the very beginning. So that really spoke to me. And then this poem concluded saying that when one is not touched by the pain of others, that person cannot be called a human. This poem was beautifully recited by one of the musicians, and it stirred many emotions in me. Not gonna lie. The second part of the concert, called the Jewish Quarter, included more traditional Ladino folk songs, a ballad, and a medieval Hebrew prayer. One powerful song that really stood out to me was called Eli Eliyahu. It's a traditional Iraqi piyut text attributed to Rabbi Avraham ibn Ezra, who lived in the years 1089 to 1167. Piyut, which was completely a new word for me, is a Hebrew liturgical poetry designed to be sung, chanted, or recited during Jewish religious services. Originating in the 5th and 6th century Palestine, these poems enrich standard prayers, often incorporating acrostics, rhyme, and complex biblical references. They function as soul music, merging history, theology, and emotion. I have to admit, these Sephardic and Middle Eastern tunes really moved me. I felt my soul alive. I wanted to move, to dance to these rhythms. I could not get enough. The third section was dedicated to the Christian and Armenian quarters. And while these songs and chants were absolutely beautiful as well, no doubt about it, I personally did not feel what I felt in the previous sections. This music just didn't resonate with me. The fourth section was titled Mosque, Synagogue, and Cathedral, and presented more chants, mostly from medieval times. The fifth section presented the Arab Quarter, and finally the sixth section brought all the diverse cultures and peoples together for a neighborhood celebration with a Ladino song called the Morning Meal. To say that this concert was breathtaking is to say nothing at all. I was immensely impressed. I was moved. I was inspired by this program, and it left me wanting more. If you have the chance to see Apollos Fire live, please do. They are amazing. They do travel across the U.S. and even internationally, so look them up. And then to conclude the evening, the director of the ensemble stepped forward to share her point of view on the recent Middle East crisis. She is this gorgeous, lovely woman that established throughout the evening such a heartfelt connection with the audience. I cannot even describe it with words. She is actually the daughter of a Jewish refugee and Holocaust survivor. She spoke a little bit about her father's journey and how he ended up in the United States, and that was a very touching story. And she continued to say that despite everything that's going on in the Middle East, and despite the anti-Semitism and the hate between nations, she is honored to join with her Israeli, Palestinian, American, Jewish American, and Armenian friends on stage. She says, with the world in such distress, our personal friendships become more precious every day. She explained that for these performers, this concert became a candle in the dark, and they're all grateful to share this light of hope with the audience. I thought it was just incredible. The whole evening was incredible. And then a friend of mine who was there at the concert, she later expressed to me how unbelievable it was to see this performance that included Muslim themes in a synagogue. She was surprised that Jewish people would be so accepting and welcoming. And I told her that it wasn't surprising to me at all, because we Jews are not the ones that hate other nations. Jewish people, especially those who live by the Torah, do not hate. They do not hate anyone. It is simply not in our nature. We are never the ones who attack. We only defend ourselves. The other day, I watched a video from Bill Maher's real-time show, and this particular clip happened to be on the topic of anti-Semitism, and he pointed out something very important. Jews very rarely, and I mean very rarely, publicly speak badly about others, about other nations. You see, while tons of clueless pro-Palestinians and anti-Zionists spread atrocious lies about Jews, publicly and openly wishing for another Holocaust, Jews do not do so in return. You will not see this in politics, on television, anywhere. It's not something that we practice. Jews are not an aggressive people. We don't want to rule the material world, unlike the popular misconception. Our goal is to bring heaven down to earth by serving God. Period. All we ask is to be left alone. Let us do our thing. Unfortunately, we have been chosen as scapegoats throughout much of human history due to envy. Really, it comes down to envy. Because we are the chosen people, because we do better economically, because we always thrive, despite constant setbacks. But no matter what, no matter how much people try to exterminate our race, our nation, our religion, the Jewish people will always thrive. And we will lead by example. We will show what it means to be loving and accepting. There is a reason why we were chosen by God to be spiritual leaders. Thank you for listening, and please share this episode so we can keep that candle of hope lit.